guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And as those of you who follow the channel may know, we were out for the better part of a week.
Yes.
So we missed some stuff.
Yes.
We missed some stuff, and this is one of the stuffs that we missed. There was this big article on the site formerly known as Newsarama, now just the comics tab on Games Radar.
Yeah.
Talking about Kickstarter and Boom, and how very dare Boom make as much money as they're making. And I saw people talking about Camilla Zhang, who was the outreach at Kickstarter.
Gatekeeper.
Gatekeeper.
I'll call it what it is. Gatekeeper Kickstarter.
Gatekeeper at Kickstarter. And apparently there was a kerfuffle, a little bit of a kerfuffle, a rumble that went down on Twitter. And she was trying to be like, hey, everybody's welcome, in crowdfunding except you people because I don't like you or something.
Right.
Like that.
I don't know. What's going on.
I couldn't follow the whole thread, but there was supposedly an olive branch. It wasn't really an olive branch. It was kind of like floor pie in The Simpsons, where you could do a leg snare on Homer. You just put the pie on the floor and then you grab. He's like, ooh, floor pie, and then he gets snagged. I think it was a trap.
Okay.
Because we know exactly what Camilla and the other persons in the women in comics gossip group Whisper Network think of people over on Indiegogo. So anyway, now Kickstarter and Indiegogo are coming into the spotlight more because the comic book industry is freaking collapsing, just like everybody on YouTube has been saying for years.
Right.
So now all of these people who mocked crowdfunders, now they're all trying to jump into crowdfunding, including major publishers like Boom.
No, but this isn't a new thing. Like, we've been around for a while because we came from webcomics. A lot of people use crowdfunding for years via webcomics, and major publishers used Kickstarter before.
Yeah, well, they got shamed out of it before. Yeah, now Fantagraphics, they were given a pass, even though like 2 years before they called Kickstarter e-begging because they were in financial need. But Archie Comics, I remember this. Archie was shamed into pulling the plug on their Kickstarter because it wasn't fair. It's not fair that these companies want to make more money when there are poor, starving artists out there that don't have
But
any
again,
money.
like I said with this Boom campaign, just because you're mad about it doesn't mean that you were going to get the money if they didn't. If they weren't there, does not mean they're going to give the money to you. It could be that people are only there to donate specifically to that platform, that campaign. Doesn't mean that if they don't give them money, they're going to suddenly give it to these other people.
Right, and that is the mindset. So basically what's going on now is Boom launched a comic book campaign for BRZRKR with Keanu Reeves. Okay, this is basically a movie pitch, but it's making a ton of money. But it's not fair. It's not fair that multi-millionaire movie star Keanu Reeves and Boom Studios uses the Kickstarter platform to promote their product because they could have just done it.
I mean, just like it's not fair that certain people are gatekeeping Kickstarter and keeping people's campaigns out that could have gone there because they didn't like them for personal reasons or because they didn't agree with their politics or whatever. You mean like that's not fair?
No, that's totally fair.
They're
Yeah.
fair. See, there's two different definitions of fair. And that's, there's no, I don't think they really understand what the word fair means.
Yeah, so they're talking about having established publishers and creators begin crowdfunding projects feels like the old guard horning in on territory for the next generation. They've been doing this. They did it with
webcomics too.
Yeah, they did it with webcomics. They came in, they pushed out a lot of the old school webcomics artists as soon as they caught a whiff of the money and the audience that could be built online.
And then they see it especially on like webtoons and things like that.
Yep. For others, it's just a new distribution model. They're like 10 or 12 years.
It's not new.
Wait,
just because you're just now noticing it and paying attention to it doesn't mean that it's not new.
Because there's no other option.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no other option. The comic book industry is collapsing. So they're talking about, this is awesome. They have the good news first. The good news first is that this is a good thing for comics because comics are getting made. More people are aware of the comic because you got a name like Keanu Reeves attached to it, etc., etc.
We heard the same story with webcomics when Mark Waid came in. This is great for webcomics because Mark Waid's going to come and legitimize us. We look at that, it's the same kind of argument we heard before.
Mark Waid failed miserably at webcomics. And it's not that he wasn't told how to do it. It's not that he didn't have some free advice on how to run his website.
From people you might hear on the show. Anyway,
it's not like we didn't have conversations with him and told him you're going the wrong direction, Mark. You might want to try XYZ thing, and then the site folded like a year or two later. But I digress.
Yeah.
I digress. What the hell do we know? Anyway, this is Camilla Zhang coming into the situation. She said that former Kickstarter comic book outreach Camilla Zhang believes there's a space for big companies to join Kickstarter while still respecting the homegrown community.
The homegrown community that existed for years before she showed up and gatekept it.
One way is to shout out other Kickstarter campaigns they really like or want to support. Why do they have to do that again? Because it's
wait, who has to do that?
You, if you're a big publisher,
no, you don't,
and you're making money, you
don't owe them anything.
You need to shout out the little guy.
Yeah, you don't. You don't have to do anything. I mean, the fact that you're there and you're bringing people to the platform that might not have normally come to the platform, which then they can choose to go look at other campaigns if they want to. You've done enough. You don't owe anybody your platform. And I'm so effing sick and tired of these people who think that because you're somebody or you have a platform that you owe it to them. You don't owe them anything.
Yeah, this is the thing. And this is what the conversation was before. And I think it comes up again in this article that people were salty because Boom's page rates are not great.
No. They're not.
You know, they're not.
So are a lot of the smaller comic publishers.
Right. And their page rates aren't great. So when they see the dollar amounts coming in for this, again, Keanu Reeves backed comic book project, immediately people are like, what about us? Where's our money?
Did you agree to work for that? If you signed a contract and you agreed to work for that, then unless they said, hey, we're going to give you a cut of it, then you agreed to work for it.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. That's the way any industry works, you know?
No, but comics isn't really an industry. We know it's not really an industry.
But that's how it works. I mean, would it be nice if they gave them a percentage of it? Yeah, that'd be nice. But it's like a Christmas bonus. You're not, any kind of bonus at work. They'd be nice if they gave you a share of the profits, but they're not required to.
So, Zhang says that Boom's current Kickstarter campaign for BRZRKR is ruffling feathers among the crowdfunding space due to its treatment of the community.
Treatment of the community what way?
Well, here we go. Here we go. I know there's a lot of buzz out there right now about Boom likening it to Archie Comics' failed campaign.
It didn't fail. They pulled it.
They pulled it because,
because you're all bitching about it.
They pulled it because everybody was bitching about it. Yeah, they did.
Failed campaign. It wasn't failed. They pulled it because you wouldn't stop whining.
They canceled their $350,000 Kickstarter campaign after criticism. Yeah, because you guys bullied Archie into pulling the plug on their Kickstarter. Boom is doing very fine for themselves right now, but they don't have a great reputation when it comes to paying creators, specifically bi-POC, queer, and trans creators.
No. They don't look at you and say, well, you're bi-POC, queer, and trans, I'm giving you less money. That's a load of shit. Basically, they get everybody who works for them doesn't get paid well. When you go into it. It's the same shit bucket for everyone. Thank you.
Another thing is that if you read their campaign page, it really doesn't have the community in mind.
Why would it? Why the fuck, sorry mom, would they have to have the community in mind when they're doing a Kickstarter for their own project? Why? They don't. Oh, I'm so tired. I saw a comment on Her Universe today on Instagram. Somebody was demanding that they release a statement about how they're against J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter, even though they sell Harry Potter merchandise because of what happened. They don't owe them that. They don't owe them anything.
They have a licensing deal. They have a contract. They have to honor that contract.
Right. That's like they don't owe you. Just because you put a campaign up doesn't mean you have to give the community something, and especially the community who backstabs everyone and treats people like people that are white, straight, and male one way and everybody else another.
Okay.
There's no sense of gratitude? Gratitude in what? Or humility in what?
There's no sense of gratitude or humility in that campaign, which is fine. If that's the route they want to go.
Yeah, because that's business. Put your big boy or girl pants on, and that's how business works. If you don't like it, go find a job somewhere else, another industry. But guess what? Business works the same there too.
Well, here's the problem. Camilla Zhang doesn't like business working the way that business works because immediately when she came into Kickstarter, if you follow the rabbit hole, she is one of the ones pushing for the union.
Yeah, look how good that worked out.
Which collapsed, basically.
Which she said was going to happen.
And she got herself laid off, along with a bunch of other people.
But that's okay. You can hire her now to be a consultant for your Kickstarter campaigns. Which, why you'd hire her, I have no idea.
Protection money. Now, this has been a conversation too that has been coming up, and I've seen some other videos on it, and I've read some tweets on it. Basically, even though she's not at Kickstarter, she still has a lot of influence at Kickstarter, even though she denies that she has a lot of influence at Kickstarter. But now a lot of people who are on the naughty list with the Women in Comics gossip group, like Scott Snyder, are basically hiring Camilla to make sure that they don't get harassed off of Kickstarter, because Scott Snyder doesn't deserve it. He's already rich and he's white and male.
Wait a minute. So they're using her because they would normally be, these people would have a problem with him, but they're using her as a shield to get themselves through. And she who's going on about rights and how she's out there to stand up for everybody and make sure she gatekept and did what she could to power to the people kind of thing, was gladly take his money to be a shield and to make sure he gets through there, and her old principles be damned, to make sure that she still gets paid. Is that what you're saying?
She gotta eat. She's out of a job. Well, I think with the union package, I think she got a pretty generous severance.
Well, I want to go join a company just to cause shit and get paid for it.
Be there for 2 years, start a union.
Start up all the shit I can and get to walk away with a bunch of money. That sounds like a plan.
Yeah, so this is how things are going to go from here on out. Now, the big question is whether or not Kickstarter is ever going to return to its former glory. They've had a couple of major campaigns, but I'll tell you the truth, the people who are pulling the big bucks on Kickstarter don't give a fuck about the Kickstarter community.
But they didn't give a notice, a manifesto about the community with their campaigns? How very dare they?
You had Todd McFarlane come in, make $2 million.
And they had a shit fit about that.
They had a shit fit about Todd McFarlane, and now you've got Keanu Reeves and Boom Studios coming in and making, probably going to make, I don't know what it's at now, but lots and lots of money. They're going to make lots of money, and it's not fair.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. A lot of people coming in to back these campaigns don't give a shit about, Kickstarter. They're coming in to back those specific campaigns. Where it benefits people on Kickstarter is people are coming in to back those campaigns because they're getting all the publicity, and when they're there, they might back other campaigns. They might just happen to stumble upon them, back other things. So you kind of want them there. Plus, Kickstarter needs them there so they can make some money. But you kind of want them there because it might, inadvertently help other creators as well. So this whole idea of what they're screaming and ranting about is absolutely stupid. And it's like you're cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Yeah. Yeah. But they're talking about the divide between indie creators and mainstream publishers. They've got Spike Trotman in here.
Please.
She basically kickstarts all of her books now.
Yeah, well, her husband used to be an investment banker.
I think he was.
I think he quit though to work for her, but
I don't know. But they're basically like, well, I don't have a problem with it, but people kind of wonder why do big companies do this. I'm like, I don't know, why do big companies? Why is Hasbro doing the Pulse thing where they basically take pre-orders for very expensive to produce collector item toys? They've done with Transformers. They had a scale Unicron. It was like a $600-$700 figure. They just did it with the Mandalorian ship.
Right.
They're doing it. And they've done it with Jabba's sail barge.
Yep.
And they have to see if there's a demand, because they can't produce something, and then just have it sit in a freaking warehouse or wind up at Ollie's. And I think what's probably going to happen with print comics is they are going to be created more to demand, so we don't have warehouses full of shit getting dumped off at Ollie's.
Well, interestingly enough, Troutman agrees with me. She said, if famous people or huge companies want to use Kickstarter, that's not a problem for me. That's maybe 1,000 or 10,000 people who have never used Kickstarter before, registering an account and investigating a site that's brand new to them. That's what I'm saying. Troutman said, a lot of these people will stick around and back more than one project. And it's Keanu Reeves or... what is that? Shenmue 3?
Shenmue, yeah. It's
or the Smithsonian or whatever that brought them here in the first place. That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's actually, you stop whining and screaming and ranting about it, because if you stop being babies about it and, you support, you might end up helping yourself inadvertently, because they're coming in and most people are going to come in, they're going to be like, what is this site? They're going to look around. I mean, whining about it is just making it worse. If you people's back up before they get there, they're just going to go in, back that, and leave.
The thing is, though, this isn't new. I mean, it might be new in comics that we have, like, major publishers come in. And I think the only reason there's such a shit fit about Keanu Reeves and Boom is because they were successfully able to bully Archie Comics out of it. But there are numerous Image books that were kickstarted first, and then they wound up, published in Image. I can think of, like, 3 or 4 off the top of my head.
I was going to continue and said, and actually come to think of it, I'm pretty sure that the first time something like this happened, that a big deal Hollywood type launched a project. Kickstarter actually compiled data about the backers and proved with hard numbers that a lot of these people went on to back other projects. Yes, that is what I'm saying. I agree with her for once. Yes.
Well, because a lot of times these big name projects attract media attention outside of the tiny comic book scene.
Comic book industry.
Right. And so you look at like the Reading Rainbow campaign, or look at what was it, Veronica Mars, they did one, and it did get like mainstream attention, Hollywood Reporter and CNN and all that, like,
right.
So it does bring people a platform, but lately, I mean, Kickstarters, it's been bad news. It's been bad news. They're laying people off. People aren't crowdfunding, and to take it back to comics and Camilla Zhang especially, I think she just is showing again she's trying to control.
She is in another way.
Yeah, she's trying to control in another way. They got rid of her, but now she's like, I'm gonna make sure that I get myself in there to gatekeep.
To me, it seems worse somehow, because now it's like my principles, and it's like, well, for a certain price, I can use my principles to shield the quote unquote enemy that I used to block before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I respect somebody more who stands by their principles, even if I don't agree with their principles, but they stand by them, than I do something like that.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Like I said, we've got Keanu Reeves and we've got, Todd McFarlane and Boom Studios. They don't give a shit what, the community thinks. They came in, they used the platform for business purposes, which is what it was kind of designed for, but...
And I want to know what the community is defined as, because there's a lot of people who've been using it for years who aren't part of her community, quote unquote. One, nobody owes you their platform. And two, the community is interesting. The word community to me is interesting because there's a lot of people who are part of that community who have been pushed out, but they were original people that were used it, originally part of the community, and they've been pushed out since because they weren't the right kind of people.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard complaints about people on Kickstarter, especially under Zhang's regime, that, their projects weren't getting promoted like they used to, that there was a heavier focus on, being a certain kind of person. It didn't matter if the project was good or not. It was your identity. You had to be a certain kind of creator. And she said as much in interviews.
Yeah, she did.
To be promoted. And yet there are people plugging away. You've got like, I think Brian Polito and Billy Tucci were using Kickstarter, making hundreds of thousands of dollars, but you never heard about it because, they were just, old white guys.
Exactly.
We don't need to talk about them. Todd McFarlane comes in. Because he's Todd freaking McFarlane, comes in, makes $2 million because he's going to, because he's Todd McFarlane. It doesn't matter if he went to Kickstarter or Indiegogo or just said, here's a PayPal address, just send me money. He would have made millions of dollars.
But this whole idea that somehow if you're a bigger person, you owe them something, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
You don't owe the community anything.
I demand restitution.
For what?
For being underpaid at Boom 5 years ago.
Right, so does everybody else who's been underpaid at Boom for years.
Yeah, I demand restitution for being blacklisted from Boom for having very, very mild opinions on a message board.
About Darkwing Duck.
10 years ago. So you better pay me for all those books that I didn't get to draw there, Boom.
Yeah, actually, funny story. Kneon was the first choice at the time for Darkwing, but that was shot down by a certain person at Boom who was mad because Kneon dared ask him some valid questions like, about the sales, and he was worried about some things and mentioned it on a message board somewhere. How dare he? For
me, I was being very polite. I was just like, I don't understand what the hell Boom is doing with the Disney comics. It makes no sense to me. How dare you?
You cannot pick him. You have to hire whoever else. You can't hire him.
And I got a quasi... very typical comic book industry letter where I got a very lengthy response that basically said, keep your nose clean and you might get work.
And you know what we say to that? There's never going to get work. Here's our middle finger and we don't have to keep our nose clean.
Yeah, fuck you. We can do
just
what we want.
Because your nose is brown doesn't mean ours has to be.
Yeah, right. All right, so we're going to wrap this one up.
That's right.
Okay, so just go do your own thing. And these people don't matter. They want to matter. They
desperately want to matter. That's the point.
She can't stand it. She can't stand that she can't control the flow of the spice anymore.
Yes, now she's trying to find another way to control the flow of spice, but she's using her power and privilege it is privilege at this point, to help the people that she would consider wrong to control the flow of spice.
Yeah, that is...
Anybody can be bought for the right price, apparently.
Anybody can. All right. Okay, guys, we will talk to you later.
Bye.
Goodbye.